Hello everyone! It's now time to discuss how I would rewrite Ash's Johto journey. Now, Johto was a very weird series, but you can't really blame the anime for this. Johto was heavily connected to Kanto in the games, and the anime was very much like that. Unlike future series, Ash didn't start anew with a brand new team right from the start, and instead kept many of his Kanto Pokemon in use for a long time in Johto. This, in my opinion, wasn't the best choice though, because it led to the Johto Pokemon not getting as much attention as they could have. So I'm going to have a lot of changes to make here. Another huge issue with Johto was the huge amount of fillers. The series was 157 episodes long, almost double the length of the original Kanto series. So let's not waste any time and get started with this new journey. I want to do this video in a similar format to the Kanto one, going by the major canon events in chronological order. Unlike our previous video though, since this series is so long, we won't be able to go through as many events in as much detail, so I'll have to summarize most of the changes. But I'll try to keep this as clear as possible. Ash will still head to Johto with a party full of Kanto Pokemon. He meets Casey as usual and easily defeats her in battle with his strong Pokemon. This will cause her to become upset, and Casey will call Ash out on using his Kanto Pokemon to battle for the Johto Gym Challenge, stating that he just wants to breeze through with his already strong Pokemon. And this remark will get under his skin, and Ash will angrily tell her that he could catch a brand new team and raise them from scratch and still win the Johto League. And this will cause the two to form a small rivalry. I'm gonna have Ash and Co meet Kurt sooner than usual, and he'll actually give Ash and his friends one of each apricorn ball. I think it was a huge missed opportunity to not have Ash and his friends use more of the apricorn balls in Johto. This was the first time they gave us new interesting Pokeballs, yet the characters only used one each. So that'll be a change here. But moving on from that, he'll quickly catch Heracross as usual, though this time in a friend ball. And since Heracross bothers Bulbasaur so much, Ash will actually send Bulbasaur to Professor Oak's lab very early in this series. Moving along, I'm going to be merging Illusion Confusion and Foul Play into a two-parter very early into the series. Ash and his friends will get lost in the forest where they'll have to deal with a bunch of illusions from Wild Hoot Hoot and Noctowl, including a shiny Noctowl, which Ash will end up catching in a Moonball. To make space in his team, he sends Primeape back to Oaks. Yes, to anyone who hasn't seen the last video, Primeape is still with Ash for now, and we'll get to his story later on. So Ash now has Noctowl on his team much earlier than in canon. On a similar note, Squirtle's departure from the team will happen earlier than in canon, after Ash adds Chikorita to his team, and she'll be caught in a Love Ball. Ash then has his gym battle against Falkner. Things will be different in this universe, since Ash will actually send out Noctowl to battle Falkner's Hoot Hoot. He thinks the evolved Pokemon will do well, and he's correct, as Noctowl easily overpowers his pre-evolution with his Hypnosis and Pick attacks. Falkner uses Dodrio next, and this Pokemon manages to overpower Noctowl with his speed and defeat him. Ash thinks back to Casey's words, and he really wants to work with his new Pokemon, so he tries to use Heracross. But despite getting in a few good hits, Heracross is no match for the Pokemon considering his huge type disadvantage, so he goes down. This has Ash regretting his choice, and he decides he has no choice but to use Charizard. Charizard pretty effortlessly takes down the weakened Dodrio, and manages to valiantly take down Pidgeot as well, winning Ash the battle. Now in this universe, Ash won't be as happy about this victory, as he remembers what he told Casey. He's supposed to be proving that he can make it to the Johto League with a brand new team, so he can't over-rely on his Kanto Pokemon. He needs to focus on his new ones. An opportunity to further that mission soon appears, as Charizard wants to train at the Charizard Valley, so Ash decides to leave him for training. As such, we're going to move Ash's capture of Totodile a bit sooner than in canon, so Ash will add him to his team as well, in his signature Lure Ball. Ash will then catch Cyndaquil as normal, though in this universe she's going to be a female, and she'll be caught in a fastball. Ash will then send Muck to Professor Oak to make space for Cyndaquil. Chikorita will still have her jealousy episode, but it'll be much closer to the next gym battle. Additionally, here we can see that Chikorita really wants Ash's attention, and her jealousy of Pikachu actually won't be solved by the end of the episode. She remains cordial with him, but not super friendly. So now it's time for Ash to battle Bugsy. Ash is still adamant about training his new Pokemon, so he plans to avoid using Pikachu in this battle, and to just focus on his Johto captures. Ash decides to use Chikorita against Bugsy's Spinarak, despite the type disadvantage. Chikorita has shown her fondness for Ash, and in her desperation to get his approval, and prove herself to be just as capable as Pikachu, she uses all of her strength to get a win against the spider. She's happy when Ash praises her, but even happier to know that Pikachu witnessed all of this. Sadly though, her happiness is ended when Bugsy's Ledian is able to defeat her. Ash decides to use Noctowl next, and with his type advantage, he easily takes down Ledian in an aerial battle. Bugsy uses Scyther last, and though Noctowl fights well, Scyther is able to overpower him and win. Ash uses Cyndaquil last, and though she struggles a bit, she is able to get the win once she lands a massive flamethrower. Continuing on, we're going to move Ash obtaining Phanpy's egg much earlier than in canon as well. Originally, he didn't get it until he was about to battle Pryce. So to fix that, we're going to have the Pokemon race occur between Ash's battle against Bugsy and Whitney. Ash will reunite with Gary, of course, but also Casey as well, who is competing with her Bayleaf. Yes, after losing to Ash, she went through an intense training which caused her Chikorita to evolve much quicker than it originally did. That said, her other Pokemon are still rather weak, and Ash defeats them in a quick sparring match. But on that note, since we've moved this event so much earlier, Ash doesn't have his own Bayleaf to race with. As such, he'll be using Heracross here. Ash will still win the Phanpy egg, of course, who will still hatch in the next couple of episodes. With a full team, Ash will send Noctowl to Professor Oak temporarily, and he'll officially catch Phanpy in a heavy ball. Phanpy will be a female in this universe. I don't think I actually mentioned that in part 2 of my Unova rewrite, even though I mentioned the others I'd retconned to female, but yeah, Phanpy is a girl as well. So, moving on, Phanpy will quickly get pushed into training with the rest of Ash's team, and seeing how fired up and determined they are, she'll quickly grow a love of battling as well. She especially admires Chikorita, and this passion will prompt Ash to want to use her in his gym battle against Whitney. And speaking of that battle, Ash will meet Whitney soon enough, and their battle will go a bit differently. As Whitney starts with a Nidorina, Ash decides to use Phanpy. Though she's young, her clear type advantage helps her out, and she manages to defeat the poison type. Next, Whitney goes with Clefairy, but a tricky metronome gets the better of Phanpy, and a Hydro Pump takes her down. Ash decides to use Totodile next, and he struggles for a bit, as Clefairy's metronome pulls out powerful moves. But when she uses Splash, opening herself up to attack, Totodile manages to defeat her with Water Gun and a powerful Slash. Last is Miltank, and she effortlessly pummels Totodile into the ground. Ash's last choice is Heracross, and despite his type advantage, Miltank is tough and gives him a hard beating. Things look bleak until Heracross powers through with a reversal, which easily takes down Miltank thanks to Heracross having taken so much damage and saving the move into the last minute. So Ash gets his plain badge here with few issues. Next, Ash and his friends head to the bug catching competition, where they run into Casey again. They all compete and things go similar to canon, with Casey exhausting her now Bayleaf in her desperation to beat Ash in the competition. Ash tells Casey that she's too reckless as a trainer, and in a rage, Casey challenges Ash to a quick set of 3 one-on-one battles in the middle of the competition. Ash accepts to prove to her that she's acting irresponsibly. Casey's Pokemon are able to hold their own here, with her new Magby taking down Phanpy and her newly caught Beedrill tying with Heracross. The battle nears its end as Ash's Chikorita faces Casey's Bayleaf, but Bayleaf is too exhausted from battling so much that Chikorita actually wins. Casey yells at Bayleaf for losing to her pre-evolved form, which causes her to become upset with her. Ash explains to Casey her error once again, and Casey finally apologizes to Bayleaf. Neither Ash or Casey end up winning, of course, but Casey vows to become a better trainer who can defeat Ash. As for the winner, it'll be Brock, who catches his Pineco here. Ash and company will run into Gary in Power Play, and the only change here will be that Gary will battle against Ash with his Umbreon, and Gary will win. Moving on, Ash will come across the grass tournament in the grass route. Only now, since Bulbasaur has already left the team, Ash will enter with Chikorita. Chikorita and Ash will be able to make it to the finals, where Ash faces Ipfrim with his Skiploom, Skippy. The battle is pretty even, and Skippy nearly gets the win after landing a hard solar beam on Chikorita. But Chikorita actually manages to learn Synthesis in the middle of battle, allowing her to recover her health and have the strength to defeat Skippy in the end. The group then makes it to Ecruteak City for Ash's next gym battle against Morty. Ash will try to battle with Cyndaquil, Pikachu, and Phanpy, but they'll lose unfortunately, as Ash struggles against the tricky ghost types. Ash realizes that he can't just brute force strength it, and he should think of an actual strategy, and he does. He brings Noctowl back to the team and crafts a new plan for his rematch. In the rematch, Morty starts with Mischievous, who Totodile is able to defeat after learning a brand new Dark-type move, Crunch. Morty sends out Haunter next, who defeats Totodile. Ash uses Pikachu next, and he is able to take down Haunter, but falls to Gengar's powerful Shadow Ball. Noctowl is last for Ash, and he has an advantage in being immune to Gengar's most powerful attacks. But the Ghost can still hit hard with Zap Cannon and Hidden Power, dealing a lot of damage to Noctowl. But he shows off a new attack as well, Feint Attack, which lands a super effective hit to Gengar. He then finishes it off with Confusion, earning Ash his 4th badge. Things will continue as normal, except I'm going to have Misty catch that Teddy Urza she liked from Unbearable. I haven't mentioned Misty much, so let's give her this new capture. It's not a water type, but it's fine. Moving on, things still continue as normal until Chikorita's evolution into Bayleaf. In turning over a new Bayleaf, not only will she injure Ash with her tackles, but also Pikachu. This makes Ash even angrier at her, and Bayleaf jealousy gets out of control. She's even more upset this time when she runs off, and when Ash tries to apologize to her. She's so mad that she even tries to attack Pikachu. The two get into a small battle when they are all attacked by Team Rocket. Team Rocket attempts to attack Bayleaf, but Pikachu comes to her rescue. This has Bayleaf realize that Pikachu actually cares a lot for her, so the two battle together and finally start to become friends, and Bayleaf lets go of her jealousy. Next, we'll move to Ash's battle against Chuck. Things will be a bit different, with this battle now being a 3v3. Poliwrath will be first to battle on Chuck's end, and Ash will use Pikachu first. Thanks to his type advantage, he winds up being able to defeat the water type, but he's way too tired when Machoke comes out and is taken down. Noctowl is sent out next, and though he takes a bit of a beating, he manages to get the win over the fighting type with his psychic type and flying type moves. Last will be Hitmontop, and his unique battling style of spinning on his head will allow him to get the edge over Noctowl and win. Ash's final choice is Bayleaf, and while she struggles for a bit, she manages to use Hitmontop's battling style against him, spinning him with Vine Whip to the point of dizziness. A follow-up Body Slam takes him out. As in canon, Ash and his friends' next destination is the Whirl Islands for the World Cup. Misty will still catch her Corsola in episode 213, but I'll also be allowing her to catch a Chinchou in episode 212. In fact, Chinchou will be the one she uses to catch Corsola. Next it's time for the World Cup, and we're going to change some things here. In this universe, each battle will only be a one-on-one, but trainers can use any Pokemon they wish in each round. So Ash will be going through every round with Totodile, which will give him a lot of great battle experience. He'll even learn Whirlpool in one of the earlier rounds. That said, it will cause him to get tired as the competition goes on. Misty, however, since she has so many water types to pick from, will have an easier time going from battle to battle. I'm gonna say that Ash and Misty will make it even farther than this competition than in canon, so they'll face each other in the top 8. This time, it'll be a simple battle of Totodile versus Chinchou. Though Totodile battles well, Chinchou's type advantage obviously gives her the edge, and she manages to beat Totodile. Misty therefore makes it to the top 4, but still loses to Trinity. That said, she's happy with her progress, and vows to work even more as a water-type trainer. Next, it's time to get into the Lugia arc, and this is going to go far different than in canon. First of all, this arc will be expanded from 4 episodes to 7, so we'll be deleting 3 random fillers. Take your pick. Additionally, while Professor Namba is the still main leader in this operation with Butch and Cassidy, it's going to be a huge-scale Team Rocket project as ordered by Giovanni, who wants to use Lugia's powers to take over the Johto region. He plans to use it to summon the legendary Birds of Kanto and have them wreak havoc on the region. Things will be intense, and there will be numerous grunts taking part in the scheme, leading to Ash and his friends having to take on even more opponents. Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres will also appear, leading to the kids having to divide and conquer to save them as well. In addition to Richie being here, I'm going to throw Gary and Casey into this conflict as well, since it's such a larger event. Eventually, Giovanni has Jesse, James, and Meowth join in, but as expected, they all eventually face defeat. After things are over, all the Team Rocket members involved are actually arrested for their evil deeds, including Giovanni, who was able to be located in a secret hideaway at Johto's radio tower, where he was using sound waves in combination with Professor Namba's mind-controlling helmets to control all of the legendary Pokemon. Jesse, James, and Meowth actually managed to escape though, but devastated and infuriated over his failure, Giovanni disbands Team Rocket, and this means that the Team Rocket trio of Jesse, James, and Meowth end their story here, no longer having a reason to go after Pikachu. I'll let the Team Rocket fans in the audience decide what you want their final ending to be, but yeah, this is officially their last story in my universe. Moving along, we're going to postpone Jasmine's gym battle for just a minute, and that's because I've decided to add another tournament to the show. Chikorita had her grass tournament, and Totodile had the World Cup, so I think it's only fair that Cyndaquil get a fire-type tournament as well. Here, Ash and his friends will meet Macy, who shows off her love for fire types. Casey will also reappear, entering this competition with her Magby. Magby will evolve into Magmar during the tournament, but Casey will still lose to Macy later on. Macy will eventually win the whole tournament after defeating Ash, but Cyndaquil will learn Flame Wheel after seeing it used by Macy's Quilava. The three then vow to meet again in the Silver Conference. Now it's time for Ash's battle against Jasmine. Ash will bring Phanpy back to the team, and she'll show off her progress by taking down Jasmine's first Pokemon, which is a Magneton. Phanpy easily wins with her newest move, Earthquake. But next out will be a Fortress, who will be able to take down Phanpy after overpowering her with Rapid Spin. Ash will use Cyndaquil next, and while she'll land a hard Flamethrower, Fortress will be able to overwhelm her with her continuous rollout attacks. Ash will then make the choice to switch to Heracross, and he'll be able to overpower Fortress with his brute strength. Last on Jasmine's end will be Steelix, and she'll deal a lot of damage to Heracross. Heracross will fight back valiantly, and he'll be able to land a strong reversal before fainting to an Iron Tail. Cyndaquil will come back out, and though Sandstorm will give her trouble, Ash will have her use a Flame Wheel and Flamethrower combination to get past it and get the win. After a bit more traveling and training, Ash will have his gym battle against Pryce. First up will be Dugong, and Pikachu will face the Pokemon, though he'll struggle on the Icy Pool battlefield, and a combination of Thunderbolt and Ice Beam will lead to a double knockout. Next, Pryce will use a Delibird, so Ash will use Cyndaquil. Delibird would use Rain Dance to weaken Cyndaquil's fire-type attacks, not to mention disorienting her with Blizzard. She would only just be able to get the win after using her Flamethrower and Flame Wheel combination attack. Last would be Piloswine, who would finish off Cyndaquil with a strong takedown. Last for Ash is Phanpy. Rollout does great damage, but Piloswine hits back hard with its strong Ice-type attacks. Ash, however, has Phanpy use Rollout straight into a Blizzard, giving her an Ice Armor. This combination lands an even more devastating attack. A final powerful Hidden Power defeats Piloswine, giving Ash the win. Pretty much everything can continue as normal until the gang arrives in Blackthorn City. Team Rocket isn't here to cause havoc, so Ash can get right into his gym battle. But before that happens, Ash reunites with Gary, who initially brags about how easy it was to defeat Claire. But she'll actually expose him, revealing that he struggled immensely and lost in his first battle, and that he had to resort to using some of his Pokemon at Oaks to get the victory in a rematch. Hearing this has Ash so nervous that he actually falters on his original goal, and he decides to call Professor Oak to switch out some of his Johto Pokemon for his Kanto Pokemon as well before the battle. The next day, Ash challenges Claire, and he thinks he's ready, rushing into the gym with a Pokeball in hand immediately. But he gets the shock of his life when Claire reveals that the gym battlefield uses a pool. Ash didn't expect this and becomes nervous. Claire starts with a Gyarados, surprising Ash. The Pokemon he prepared weren't really meant to battle in this way, but Ash tries to brute strength it with Snorlax. But he's pretty helpless on the pool platform, unable to move properly. He can only land attacks when Gyarados comes in close, but Claire catches on and has Gyarados attack from afar. Ash tries Hyper Beam, but Gyarados can dodge in the pool below. He then finishes off Snorlax with Dragon Rage. Ash decides to use Primeape since he's smaller and more agile, and he manages to do much better. He is able to pummel Gyarados with Thrash to take it down, but he takes a lot of damage in the battle, not too used to having to battle on water. Claire sends out her Kingdra next. Primeape fights hard, but he's too exhausted from the earlier match, and he falls to a Hydro Pump. Last for Ash is Tauros, and while he's more mobile than Snorlax, he's not as good on the platforms as Primeape. As such, while he does manage to land a few hard hits, ultimately he can't fully adjust to the battlefield and falls to Kingdra's Hyper Beam. Ash is beyond disappointed to lose after only taking down one Pokemon. Later on, Ash is upset by his performance in the battle and feels bad for rushing to use his other Pokemon without a plan. He decides to do some training late at night while Brock and Misty sleep, and not wanting his Pokemon's return to go to waste, Ash decides to work with them and a brand new Pokemon lineup for a special rematch. Ash will rematch Claire in the following episode, and she starts with her Gyarados once more. But this time, Ash brings in Noctowl first. Noctowl is totally unaffected by the pool, as he can freely fly around to attack. He's able to use his psychic abilities to battle evenly against Gyarados, but it does hit hard with a surprise Thunder. During the battle, Ash will mention how Noctowl learned from an unlikely training partner, Primeape, how to use his opponent's attack against him. Primeape demonstrated this by showing off his move, Counter, and from this, Noctowl learned how to do the same with a brand new move of his own, Mirror Move. Using Mirror Move, Noctowl hits Gyarados with a powerful Thunder of his own, taking the Pokemon down, surprising Claire. Next, she uses Kingdra, and Ash switches to Heracross. Also able to fly, Heracross is unbothered by the water battlefield. Kingdra and Heracross get into an intense brawl, and Heracross shows off the fruits of his labor. After training with Heracross, his horn attack became much stronger, and he was able to power up the attack into a brand new Mega Horn, which was enough to defeat Kingdra. Claire is impressed by Ash's progress, but still is adamant that she can win with her strongest Pokemon, Dragonair. Heracross is able to deal a lot of damage to Dragonair, but a strong Fire Blast takes him down. Noctowl returns to the field to land Hypnosis, then wear Dragonair down with Wing Attack. But she takes him down with an Ice Beam after waking up. Ash's last choice for the battle is Totodile, shocking everyone. But with Totodile being a water type, he's right at home in the pool. And thanks to his training in the World Cup, he's become very skilled at underwater battling. He traps Dragonair with Whirlpool and lands hard hits with Slash and Crunch. But Dragonair fights back with Twister and Dragon Breath. The Pokemon battle evenly, and as Claire orders Dragonair to finish Totodile off, Ash tells Totodile to use his new secret weapon. After training with Snorlax, Totodile learned Ice Punch, and he uses this move to land a powerful Icy Uppercut to the dragon and defeat it. Ash wins his 8th badge and is ready to compete in the Silver Conference. But before that, the next thing we're going to change is the Larvitar arc. Since Brock is the rock expert here, we're going to let him be Larvitar's temporary caretaker. He only sticks around for like 6 episodes anyway, and we've barely talked about Brock, so let's give him this storyline. It can also help him show off his Pokemon breeder skills for a young and shy Pokemon. During this arc, as they battle against the Poacher, Brock's Pinecoat will evolve into Forretress, and Misty's Chinchou will evolve into Lantern. And now it's time for the league. Ash will reunite with Gary, Casey, and Macy, and meet Harrison as usual, and vows to beat them all and win the whole league. Ash's first matchup in the screening rounds goes nearly the same. However, we're going to make a rather notable change here. Ash's Pikachu battles Salvatore's Furret, and he shows off a brand new move. You see, even though he wasn't used against Claire, he also took part in the rigorous training, and after watching Tauros use Takedown over and over, Pikachu tried to mimic that, using his own electric powers as he charged forward with Quick Attack. In doing so, he learned the move Spark, which he shows off for the first time in this battle, and it actually is the finishing move which gets him the win. Okay everyone, I usually prefer to keep my stories 100% accurate to the generation in question. However, infuriatingly, even though Spark was introduced in Gen 2, Pikachu didn't get it until Gen 6 in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I was beyond stunned when I learned that. I thought for sure Pikachu got it in Gen 2, but apparently not. I can't imagine why on earth Pikachu didn't get this move until over 10 years after it was introduced, but for story reasons, I really want Pikachu to get it here. Not only does it diversify his moveset by giving him a long-range electric attack and a close-ranged one, but it also builds up to something later, which I'm sure you can guess, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Anyway, as much as this bugs me, I'm gonna bend the rules here and give Pikachu Spark. I guess we can blame it on anime movesets being somewhat inaccurate early on. Heck, in the canon Johto series, Pikachu used Tackle and Leer, which he can't learn, so I guess we'll replace those move errors with this one, though this one will be more long-term. Again, you can probably guess why, but it'll be addressed later. Sorry for having to do this, but I just gotta do what I gotta do. Moving on, Ash's next matches aren't seen. All we know is that he wins with Phanpy and Cyndaquil, so we'll keep that the same here. I don't really feel a need to write 2 whole battles for that, and you'll see why in a bit. Now, in the canon show, Ash would have brought back his Kanto Pokemon to participate in the Silver Conference, but we're gonna hold off on that for now. Remembering what happened back against Claire, Ash wants to have faith and trust in his Johto Pokemon, so he's not going to be calling back his older Pokemon for now. So, now it's going to be time for Ash to battle Macy. He starts out with Totodile, as Macy uses Slugma. The two duke it out, and with Totodile being stronger this time around, he takes out Slugma with a combination of Whirlpool and Water Gun. But Macy sends out her Electabuzz next, so Ash switches to Phanpy, who can easily take down the Electric type, but takes several hard hits. This allows Macy's incoming Kolava to take her down. Ash sends back out Totodile, and he deals a lot of damage to Cyndaquil, but surprisingly, Kolava manages to finish off Totodile despite the type disadvantage. Ash's last Pokemon is Cyndaquil, and though the battle is tough, Cyndaquil manages to defeat her rival this time by using a Flame Wheel and Swift combination. Next up, Ash battles Jackson. First up is the matchup of Azumarill vs Bayleaf. Ash thinks Bayleaf will get an easy win, but Azumarill knows Ice type attacks, which deal major damage. Bayleaf does, however, have Synthesis to heal herself, and she takes down Azumarill, but she falls to Jackson's Meganium, who finishes her off with Solar Beam. Ash sends out Heracross next, but Jackson switches to his Magneton. Magneton actually manages to give Heracross a hard time by paralyzing him with Thunder Wave, throwing him off with Double Team, and landing hard hits with Thunder and Tri-Attack. Heracross nearly goes down, but in his weakened state, his reversal attack powers up. Heracross will power through a Thunder to land the major hit, and this will result in a double knockout. Last, Jackson brings Meganium back in, versus Ash's final choice, Noctowl. Meganium is very powerful, but Noctowl's crafty battling tactics give him the upper hand, along with his natural type advantage. He manages to take down Meganium after putting him to sleep with Hypnosis, then using his newest attack, Dream Eater. Now, it's time for Ash to have a new battle. It's going to be a 3-on-3 against Casey. Ash has a lot to prove to Casey, as she was the one who convinced him to catch a brand new team for his Johto journeys and not rely on his Kanto Pokemon. Casey starts off with her Magmar, while Ash uses Phanpy. Phanpy will be able to deal good hits with Rollout and Earthquake, but Magmar overpowers her with Fire Blast and defeats her. Next, Ash uses Pikachu, who manages to defeat Magmar, but takes a lot of damage. Pikachu battles Elekid next, and the two electric types get into a tough battle, but Pikachu just manages to get the win. Last, Casey uses Bayleaf, who finishes off the weakened Pikachu. Ash's last Pokemon is his own Bayleaf, and the two Pokemon battle fiercely, but in the end, Ash's Bayleaf manages to learn a new move, Return, due to her affection for him, and she defeats Casey's Bayleaf. Casey is disappointed over her loss, but is very impressed by Ash, and vows to battle him again in the future. Now, Ash can have his battle against Gary. Gary is sure he'll be able to beat Ash easily, as he studied his Pokemon throughout the Silver Conference. He starts things off with his Nidoqueen, but Gary is stunned when Ash sends out Muck. Yep, Ash called Professor Oak to send over some of his Kanto Pokemon for this battle specifically. Gary isn't too concerned though, since Nidoqueen easily defeated Muck in the Indigo League. But Muck has become much stronger over time, and in particular, he's learned a few new moves. Giga Drain allows him to remain resilient during the battle, while strong Ice Punches deal super effective hits, surprising Gary. Nidoqueen fires off a Hyper Beam, but Muck resists it with his sludge-like body. He then finishes off Nidoqueen with Sludge Bomb. Gary is furious and sends out his Magmar next. Muck manages to use a Sludge Bomb, which poisons Magmar, but he then quickly falls to a flamethrower. Ash uses Kingler next, and despite Magmar's type disadvantage, he battles well against Kingler. But Kingler ultimately gets the win in the end, after landing a critical hit Crab Hammer. Gary goes with Scizor next, and the Pokemon get into a tough battle, but Scizor winds up winning. Ash goes with his Primeape next, and the Pokemon wants revenge after failing to defeat any of Gary's Pokemon last time. The battle between the two is vigorous, but Primeape wins after using Counter, following a hard Metal Claw. Gary is down 3 Pokemon, so they have a quick break. And it's here that Ash reveals to Brock and Misty that he spent his free time in between matches training up with these Pokemon for this battle. Gary starts out the second half of the battle with his Blastoise, so Ash uses Pikachu. Pikachu lands some good hits, but Blastoise is very powerful and holds his own as well. Still, Gary switches into Umbreon. Umbreon proves herself to be extremely powerful, and ultimately, she winds up defeating the weakened Pikachu. Ash then brings in Tauros, and though Umbreon is extremely agile and can deal a lot of hits, Tauros is much more physically powerful, and he manages to defeat Umbreon with a massive takedown. Golem is next for Gary, and with his rock-hard defenses and strong attacks, he takes out Tauros. Ash sends Primeape back in, and he easily finishes off his opponent. Last for Gary is Blastoise, and after a hard-fought battle, he manages to take out the weakened Primeape. By this point, Gary has realized that Ash is using the same team he faced him with in the Indigo League, meaning he knows his final Pokemon. And indeed, Ash tells Gary that he thought this team deserved a rematch against him, and he's happy with their progress. Then he sends out Charizard, who he reveals he called back from the Charpacific Valley just for this battle specifically. Blastoise and Charizard's battle goes about the same as in canon, though with Charizard now having a bit of an advantage, as Blastoise has had to battle Pikachu and Primeape earlier in the match, whereas Charizard is completely fresh at this point. So Charizard actually has an easier time beating the weakened Blastoise, giving Ash the win. Now we're going to move to the battle against Harrison. Though, honestly speaking, we really don't need to do too much here, so let's be quick. Harrison starts the battle with Kecleon, who'll be defeated by Noctowl, who uses his psychic powers to get past Kecleon's camouflage. Sneasel will then come out and defeat Noctowl with his Ice-type moves. Ash's Cyndaquil will come in to take down Sneasel. Next on Harrison's end will be Hypno, and he'll take down Cyndaquil. Ash will use Bayleaf next, and she'll be able to take down Hypno, as she can stay resilient with her synthesis, and then continue to hammer away with her strong attacks. Harrison will go with Houndoom next, and though Bayleaf battles hard, she'll lose to him here. So Ash goes with Totodile, and he'll be able to douse the fire type with his strong water type attacks for a win. Next will be Steelix, and while Totodile manages to land some good hits, trapping the Pokemon with Whirlpool and hitting hard with Water Gun, he still falls to an Iron Tail. So Ash decides to use Heracross, and he takes out the massive snake with his powerful fighting type attacks. Last for Harrison is Blaziken, who throws him off as Ash is not familiar with the Hoenn Pokemon, and he easily finishes off Heracross after a valiant battle. Ash's last choice will be Pikachu, but sadly, he won't be any match for Blaziken, who overpowers him with his unique battling style, and Pikachu will be defeated, eliminating Ash from the Silver Conference. Just like in our Kanto story, even though we gave Ash an earlier round, this time the battle against Casey, I'm still going to say that Ash finishes in the top 8, just to show his growth. Again, if we need to add another random preliminary battle for this to make sense, you know the drill. Ash can win in a one-on-one, and let's say it was Phanpy to give him the win, since she was the only Johto Pokemon not used against Harrison in the end. The series will then end as normal, only since Team Rocket has stopped pursuing Ash here, Pikachu won't become sick before Ash's arrival in Hoenn, so the final Johto episode will end on a happier note. So, with that being said, Ash will of course split off from Misty and Brock as usual, and that will be the end of this series. And it'll also be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, my biggest issue with the Johto saga was just how little development the Johto team actually had. The main factors for this were coming from, of course, Ash using his Kanto Pokemon a lot during Johto, and something that I realized while rewriting this, the fact that many Johto gym battles were 2v2s, meaning Ash was using very few Pokemon from gym battle to gym battle. Add on to that fact that, for some reason, the writers had Pikachu participate in every single Johto gym battle, and that led to the Johto Pokemon not getting too many major battles. I don't really get why they made that choice. I really don't see the need for Pikachu to have been used in every single battle. Like, why did he need to be used against Japan? What was he doing there? So yeah, you can definitely see that I not only made many of these battles 3-on-3s, but I removed Pikachu from a lot of them. And while some people may not like that, I think the changes I made here led to a much more developed team. So you guys can let me know in the comments how you would have changed the Johto series and Ash's journey. Again, I know I didn't focus on Brock and Misty that much, but again, the Johto series was so long and those two really didn't do all too much, so I would have had to rewrite a lot more and made this video super long. So you guys can throw in the comments there how you would have changed their stories as well. But with all of that said, the next video will finally conclude this series as we rewrite the Hoenn saga. I hope you guys will look forward to that, and I will see you all then. Thank you!